The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? $800 million in sales, 6 weeks of hustle, and a whole lot of stressed out parents. Amber and Scott are taking a look at the documentary Cookie Queens to find out what really goes into the Girl Scout cookie cartel and what they would do if their own kids were tasked with meeting those massive financial goals. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this? What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Cookies!
That is pretty much the only intro I could come up with. It pretty much felt like it was required here.
It does seem pretty perfect because we are talking about Cookie Queens. And this is a documentary, which kind of confused me a little bit going into the film, but we follow several Girl Scouts as they go through a Girl Scout cookie season of selling, which is apparently usually 6 weeks, but can sometimes be extended by the council, I guess, if maybe they didn't sell enough cookies.
Yeah. This definitely felt like, even as a documentary, a very abbreviated look at this process.
Oh, for sure. And I remember when we saw the preview for it, you had made a comment that this should be released coinciding with Girl Scout cookie season. But as it turns out, the Girl Scout empire isn't necessarily portrayed as perfect. We get a little insight into how this cookie selling stuff goes.
Oh, no, there is other information, and I think maybe other documentaries that definitely do not cast a positive light.
Yeah, one of our young characters who's 12, I think, Olive, she basically likens it to child labor, and she's 12.
Yeah, it's child labor, but we do it anyway.
Yeah, so this was a fun look at the dynamics at play during the season where we see girls converge across malls and parking lots and in front of supermarkets to sell expensive cookies, which once upon a time they used to be more expensive than the market, but now I think they're pretty much on par with what market cookies are.
Well, it's mostly because market cookies have gone up.
Yeah. So also, too, one notation on the cookies themselves is Girl Scout cookies have always been in boxes. But some of these cookies we saw in the film were actually in like cellophane wrap, kind of plastic wrapping, and they weren't in boxes.
I know that had to make you happy.
Why?
Not.
Yeah, no, I was like, well, the cookies are going to get crushed. Anyway.
Well, also, it's the cellophane versus cardboard.
Which deteriorates. Yeah. So the interesting thing about this film, and we can go through some of the scenarios, is number one, first and foremost, I had no idea that a Girl Scout's parents had to purchase cookies from the Girl Scout Council, and then they are responsible for selling those cookies, or they get stuck with the cost of those cookies. I didn't know that.
So I did know that, and it's always why it's been like, you got to have some confidence. Now, I mean, you don't have to purchase them up front. I think it's more like a net 30 thing where like you get them and you've got like 30 days or so to pay it off. But if you don't pay it off,
they're going to send someone to break your kneecaps.
Yeah, they said they would send 3 guys. I feel like they should be sending 3 girls.
Yeah.
The people who break kneecaps, like I want equality here. Let the women break kneecaps.
Yeah. I didn't know that, and it actually makes a little bit more sense to me about why parents harass their coworkers so relentlessly to buy cookies during Girl Scout season, because they're looking at having to bear the cost of unsold cookies.
Well, okay, so when was the last time you remember buying a box of Girl Scout cookies?
I don't buy Girl Scout cookies.
Ever?
No.
The last time I bought one was this last season.
Oh, really?
I bought a box.
You did? I don't think I knew that.
I did because one of the people here at the office.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, they went around door to door, and Here's the thing about Girl Scout cookies. We've been conditioned as Americans to buy them. Like, that's a crazy thing to say.
Because a child is saying, please, sir, will you buy my cookies so I can go to summer camp?
Which, the truth of the matter is like, you've got Olive, who ends up doing like 12,000 boxes of cookies.
Yes, it turns out at the end of the film, they showed her stats where she has raised $200,000 in the 7 years she's been selling cookies for the Girl Scouts of America.
Yeah, but a 12-year-old is not selling 12,000 boxes of cookies by themselves.
No, the whole family has to get involved, and
Yeah.
that's what we saw in the documentary is
It's
moms and dads lugging those wagons, helping set up tables, because they're the ones paying for it if they don't sell the cookies. They kind of have no choice. You can't let your kid come up with a number, because how this works is the Girl Scouts pick a number, they pick a goal that they want to sell cookies, and they are children. So they're picking, I can sell 300 boxes or I can sell 3,000 boxes. These are children picking financial goals that their parents are responsible for.
Well, you could start as early as 5. So obviously when you're going in, a 5-year-old is probably not going to be like, I want to sell 4,000 boxes of cookies.
Yeah, and Ara, one of our younger Girl Scouts, which I'm going to save the age thing for after this, but they didn't say her age, but she looked like she was.
Said her age.
Oh, was she 5?
She's 5.
Oh, she is 5. Okay, so Olive started at 5, and our character Ara, she was 5. Freaking adorable little girl.
Oh my God, that girl.
But she started at 55, and then when she was getting kind of close, she was like, I should increase my goal. And she was reasonable, and I'm going to increase it to 60. So she increased it by 5, not doubling it or anything.
Well,
she was, that girl is an old soul living in a little girl's body.
She looked on the sheet, and she was like, I want the thing that I get if I sell 60 boxes of cookies.
Yeah.
So...
And I don't quite understand how those prizes and trips go. Like, I understand, and this was the other part of the math that was interesting, is they sell the cookies for $6 a box or a plastic wrapped package, plastic wrapped package, and the council gets $4.90 of that, and the Girl Scout troop gets $1.10 of it. And once Olive realizes that math, she's like, we're the ones out doing the work. We're the ones out there selling cookies for 6 weeks, and we only get $1.10 from each cookie sale, and that $1.10 goes to fund the programs for that troop, is what it sounds like. But the money that the council gets, it goes to salaries, and it goes to paying rent for facilities and things like that. So I was confused of where the prizes come from. Does that also come from the money raised for that $4.90 that goes to the Empire?
Well, yeah, this is a massive operation. I saw something else once about this, and like, they do $800 million in sales in 6 weeks.
6 weeks, that's crazy. Yeah, those Girl Scouts are everywhere. So the thing I was mentioning a moment ago about ages, I didn't understand why there were Girl Scouts as old as 5 years old and seemingly as old as maybe 17 or so, because one of the characters, Nikki's, had 2 older sisters who were also involved. I didn't understand that because I was a brownie, and I don't know if the system has changed since I was a kid, or maybe I was just unaware, but you were a brownie and then you reached a certain age and you could become a Girl Scout. So I was confused about why there were Girl Scouts with different looking uniforms, different colors, but from seemingly 5 age to maybe 18?
Yeah, I know Boy Scouts could go to 18.
But why could they be Girl Scouts when they were so young? I thought there was an age limit.
Well, yeah.
Because I was a brownie.
What?
Because I was a brownie, and I thought that was like you graduate from being a brownie to a Girl Scout.
But they're still part of Girl Scouting. And so I think it's all just kind of wrapped up together when it comes to cookie sales, at least.
I don't know. But
You need the brownies to sell.
We didn't sell cookies.
You didn't?
No, I was a brownie.
No, that was a long time ago.
F you. Wow. You really have to hit below the belt on that one. So what would you do if your kid was a Girl Scout and let's just say it's their first year and they say, hey, mom and dad, I need to set my goal for how many cookie boxes I want to sell. What do you say as a parent? Because I can only imagine that situation that parents are in, and now I have a whole new appreciation for the hustle that some of those parents have.
Well, here's one thing which we didn't really get into so much on this.
Are you saying this instead of answering my question?
Well, it's in addition.
Okay, I'll allow that.
Is that we didn't see cookie preseason.
What's cookie preseason? Oh, pre-orders?
Yeah, when you're taking pre-orders and you're trying to get people to give you money beforehand so you have an idea as to like how many boxes you're going to start with and stuff like that. And I feel like how much you're able to pre-sell probably helps dictate how much you're going to commit to for post-selling. Like if you are able to get 20 people to commit to boxes, then your goal is probably not going to be 5,000 boxes of cookies.
I don't know.
I have so many friends that could probably come in here and tell me so much about this process.
Yeah, unfortunately, you and I are at a disadvantage because we have not raised Girl Scouts or bought Girl Scout cookies on behalf of our child who was a Girl Scout.
Yeah. So
what would you do then if you had a kid and said, this is my goal of how many cookies I want to sell? I mean, that's got to be a... I don't know. Maybe some parents are into it like Olive's mom was, but I imagine some parents really dread that because that is a huge responsibility for a minimum of 6 weeks to spend your weekends tabling with your child, going and accosting strangers, approaching coworkers to try and sell cookies for 6 weeks. That is a long time.
I think it depends a lot on how many you're buying. Like if you're in the range where they're trying to go through like 2,750 cookie boxes or 4,000, 12,000, like all of those require large pre-orders just from a logistical perspective. But you've got some, I don't know, I guess historical information on those people like, okay, we know we can probably do about this. For people more like Aura, I believe, and I could be wrong, that in most areas there's like a distribution warehouse that like Girl Scouts can go to.
I don't know.
If they need to get more boxes of cookies, but you're not going to be able to get thousands of, like you'll be able to get like a few cases, but not like unloading 500 cases at your house or anything like that.
Well, at one scene in there, a family was talking how they had $18,000 worth of cookies in their garage. So seems like the ones with houses were taking ownership of those cookie boxes, but I imagine a lot of Girl Scouts live in apartments or condos and cannot take that on. So I don't know what that looks like.
I don't know.
If you are a Girl Scout cookie parent, by all means, please leave your comments in this episode because your knowledge would be appreciated.
Yeah, so how much you're truly having to commit to ahead of time probably has a lot to do with what you're letting your kids set. And when you're 5, you better be directing that setting. But as they get older, and you see, okay, well, they did this many last year and this many the year before, and I think there might actually be some rules in regards to this, like set by the Girl Scouts.
What kind of rules?
Like what you're allowed to reserve in goals have a lot to do with what you were able to do the previous year.
Mm. Yeah, and you said Girl Scouts of America, but Girl Scouts are also in other countries as well. So yeah, I certainly don't know what that hierarchy or structure looks like, but I
don't know if that's the same program.
They have Girl Scout cookies in Canada. I do know that much. I think they might call it something different. Maybe it's not Girl Scouts, maybe it's something different.
North America,
but they still have the cookies. So no, I think it's called something like entirely different, not like of America or North America, okay. Something different. But
hey, what? We have this cool thing where we could ask the intern, what are the Girl Scouts called in Canada?
Girl Scouts in Canada are called Girl Guides of Canada.
Okay, great. So you have these young girls choosing these goals, but then there's also this competitive analysis that's going on. Number one, they're competing with other girls in their troop. they're trying to get recognized as the top cookie seller for their troop, which in the case of Nikki, there was a actual trophy. You're also trying to meet or exceed your sales of the previous year. And then you're also vying for all of these prizes, which again, I don't fully understand how those are funded. But
yeah, I brought up a thing over here, a PDF. Apparently, there's I don't know, there's things. Looks like you get to go to camp in Washington, D.C. if you sell 4,000 boxes. I don't know. There's a lot.
Yeah, and Nikki got to go to Europe with her two sisters. So that's why I'm kind of confused of how that part works. I'm definitely going to look into that a little bit more when we're done with this episode. But the Girl Scouts frame this as we are building tomorrow's leaders. They have these valuable skills that they're learning in communication and salesmanship and leadership. And Olive, who is our 12-year-old who made the joke about child labor and started questioning about the $1.10 that they get, she had been doing this every year and she was always the top seller. And her mom definitely was a little bit influential, I guess, in driving that number. And Olive, to her incredible credit for a 12-year-old, actually advocates for herself in this film of saying, you're pushing me to sell more cookies.
It's almost like she's been a Girl Scout for 7 years and has picked up on some of the empowerment.
Yeah, it's not always easy as a girl that age to challenge a parent.
Well,
and
So this is all interesting, and I know a little bit about this in general from a psychological perspective and even personal from when I was younger. So I know a couple of times you were like, that's a bad mom.
well, because
But
okay, let's just some context here. So Olive's initial goal was 8,000, and then kind of
her initial goal was 4.
okay, and then it got bumped up to 8, and then it got bumped up to 9, and then she got 9. She's like, okay, I'm good with 9. And then her mom was like, wouldn't 10 be a good round number? 10,000, wouldn't that be a good round number? And then she wound up getting, ultimately in the end, what was it, around 12,000?
Yeah, 12,000, I think it was 12.
So
12,801.
So yes, when her mom was like, wouldn't 10 be a nice round number? Olive had already bumped it up several times. Not on her own. She said repeatedly throughout this documentary of like, I don't want to do this next year. I've already done this for a couple years. I'm really kind of over it. Selling cookies takes all of my free time. It's hard and demanding.
So let's definitely get one thing clear here. In a documentary, you see what the documentarians want you to see.
Of course.
In reality, so for you to even get into the position that Olive is in, you're a competitive person. Like, you have to be to even get into numbers that large. Like, if you're not at least somewhat, you're just not going to get there.
Well, and it's also her identity for a reason. I am the top cookie seller in my troop.
Yeah, and so it's difficult sometimes to separate the parent from the child as far as what's truly driving somebody to go higher, because as the child gets more competitive, the parents want to feed into that and support it. So they help push them.
See, but that's actually a really good point, is Olive actually had a goal this year that was less than the previous year. She only wanted to sell the 4,000. And it was only because of, I don't want to say exclusively her mom, but other external factors that number kept getting bumped up. She basically said, I did a lot last year. I want to step back this year and sell fewer cookies. So I don't think she was being competitive. She was trying to lessen her commitment to cookie selling.
You don't go from 4,000 to 12,801 if she's just completely against it. Like, again, the documentarians show you
but her
what
mom,
they want to show you. And I think that's a lot of what we saw here.
But her mom, basically, when Olive said something along the lines of, are you pushing me for you, or something along that line? And the mom says, well, she said something, I'm not going to get this right, but basically are you sure you're not pushing yourself or something? It was something that basically threw it back at her and was like, are you really playing psychological games with your 12-year-old daughter? Like, she said she's good with the 9 and you're egging her on to keep going. That's where I thought that mom was being really manipulative, which leads us to our next what would you do? What would you do if your child set a goal and met it? Would you just be like, okay, well, good. You're done early. You sold all your cookies, or would you push that? I see. And this is an interesting question for you because you are the most competitive person I've ever known.
Yeah. So it has a lot to do with what is that goal. If that goal is 50 boxes, great, you did it. Now, it also depends on how quickly. If you set your goal at 50 and you knock that out by week 2, and there's still 4 more weeks, you might be like, hey, I want to push this. I want to try to get more. I knocked out my whole 6 weeks goal in less than 2 weeks. Maybe I've set my goal low. And you try to push yourself. And that is part of what it is about. It's about pushing yourself to figure out what your limits are, but not. There's a difference between limits and breaking points. You don't want to try to figure out where your breaking point is, but if you've underset a goal, like, try to achieve more. That is a lot of what this country is about, is about not necessarily resting on your laurels. And especially women who, for some reason in 2026, are still not fully seen as equals in the business world, universally, like, teaching them to push beyond and like exceed, I think is a really good thing for them to learn. But again, it's all about timing. If you hit your goal in week 5 and your goal was 50 boxes, maybe you're like, okay, maybe I'll push to 60. 10 more, something like that. And also, though, like, these things have milestones. I'm looking over here, and it's all based on milestones, like 40, 80, 120, 170, 220, 250, each milestone actually giving you stuff. So
yeah, they're incentivized. I guess it's kind of funny as we talk about this and think about what the film showed. It's kind of surprising that in our very woke culture nowadays, that someone really hasn't called out Girl Scouts for what Olive said about child labor, because those children are providing the lion's share of funding for that organization. It likely didn't start out that way. It probably started off as a contest to be like, hey, sell some cookies and get some prizes, and then you can fund your troop for the year. But what it has evolved into, like you said, $800 million in 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's not just a little fundraiser. And that's the thing, too. Like, there are a lot of costs incurred by the Girl Scouts.
Oh, yeah,
to
of
even
course.
run this. Like, I know they were talking about that the Scouts keep $1 to $1.10 for the troop for every box of cookies they sell. And it is because, like, things like warehousing and there's so many adults behind the scenes that need paychecks.
Yeah.
And
it seemed like they had some new cookie flavors, which I didn't understand, because why is a Girl Scout cookie flavor chocolate chip? Like, the whole point of Girl Scout cookies, and also food has changed over the years since Girl Scout cookies were a thing. It used to be Girl Scout cookies had flavors that you could not find in the stores. And then it was like, oh, I get these cookies once a year because I cannot get them. So whoever had the idea of making chocolate chip cookies as a Girl Scout flavor, I think is ridiculous, because one of the girls herself says they're like Chips Ahoy. I'm like, well, why wouldn't I just get Chips Ahoy? The point is that special time of year for 6 weeks where you can only get this one thing that you love. And that's why people buy so many boxes and stockpile them, because once they're gone, they're gone.
Well, I'll tell you this. If they didn't sell, they wouldn't be for sale. Like, there's a lot of market research and a ton behind the scenes.
Oh, of course.
Before any Girl Scout has ever sold a box of cookies that determines flavors and things of that nature. So they probably saw it as filling a gap. Like, their goal is to extract money from as many people as they possibly can.
So one of
And
our
as much of it as they possibly can. Would you like $3? Do you want to add on 2 more to make it an even $30?
yeah. Oh yeah,
Listen,
they're
I
given
appreciate
those
the
sales
hustle.
phrases. Yeah, absolutely. So one of our young Girl Scouts, Shannon Elizabeth, had 2 parents who appeared to overextend their financial commitment to all the cookies in their home and were not selling a lot. And they were concerned about having to pay for all these cookies and not being able to.
Oh, yeah, she was not on track.
And what would you do if you were a parent and you've already invested so much time and effort helping your daughter sell cookies? But also keep in mind, as the 6 weeks goes on, it gets harder and harder to sell cookies sometimes because people have bought cookies. There's so many Girl Scouts competing for those sales that you might have to go further and further to different creative places because the local supermarket has already been hit.
Yeah,
Or
I feel like they didn't really go into this too much in depth, but it sounds like they found an organization or some group that was willing to make a massive purchase.
they had a big purchase, but before that, they also had the smart idea of going to police departments and fire stations. Because, of course, a cop or a firefighter is absolutely going to say yes to the little girl who says, "Would you like to buy some cookies?"
Yeah, it's
That was smart. But yeah, they did make one huge sale, and they didn't say who it was, and I was curious about that too.
Yeah. I feel like that was probably mom or dad reaching out to some companies.
Yeah. Can you
And-
put these in goodie bags or give them to
Yeah.
whatever? Yeah.
So here's a what would you do? Now, I want to preface this by saying I'm fairly certain that what I'm about to say is not allowed. I would think it's not allowed for a few reasons. But when you get near the end and they're like, we have a whole bunch of boxes of cookies that we still need to sell, we're going to give you $2 extra.
Oh, which actually happened in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for every sale, the troop made $3.10 instead of $1.10.
I'm going to give you a what I would do on here. This is assuming that I could or I was willing to skirt the rules. You love that. I'm going to get a whole bunch of boxes of cookies and I'm going to go out and sell them for $5 on sale.
I don't think
Girl Scout cookies.
I doubt you're able to do that. You're literally taking away the profit from the council, and also too,
Well,
I
because-
think you can't make up your own prices.
Well, you're
They set
getting
the price.
$3.10. So you give $1 of that back, you still make $2.10. You have cookies cheaper. Like you're making basically double the profit for the council you normally would.
I'm 100% confident you cannot make up your own pricing and manipulate things
That's
that
why
way.
I said I'm pretty sure that you
That
can't.
is you. You're very good at coming up with creative solutions like that, but I doubt that
Well,
an
okay,
organization that size wants to do independent accounting for special deals.
I guess you could consider doing it if you're the parent that's running the troop.
I don't think you can. It's a set price. It's
no,
6
no,
weeks.
you're not allowed to do it. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. I mean,
Well,
there's a
I
lot of
think-
things in this world.
Yeah, but you have sales coming through. They have Cash App and Zelle and stuff like that. You can't have sales coming in for less than the cookies are supposed to be sold for. That is a set price. The Girl Scouts sell it for that price. You can't make up your own independent pricing. I feel pretty confident in that, even though I don't know it.
Again, I know it's not within the rules. I
So-
do feel very confident, but still, I'd look at that as an opportunity.
So what would you do is you would break the rules and make up your own rules.
Cash sale only. $6 card, $5 cash. But the problem is you still would have to remit the full $6. So unless you're the troop leader where the money's coming back, it doesn't work out well for you. It works out well for your troop. Just doesn't work out
For your
well
what?
for your troop. But it doesn't work out well.
Cookies!
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.